Hello and welcome to episode 5 of AI Webster. Today our sponsor is Yeti. Yeti, keeping coffee lukewarm since 2006. The focus of the episode today will be on my relationship with the students who designed the Pierre Berton anthology artwork and the promotional posters. One of my favorite traditions was going up to the wonderful department head of art, Nazi Covers, and I'd approach her with my class list at the end of June, my class list for the following year, and I'd say, class list on the wall, who is the most artistic, interesting, and capable of them all? And inevitably, Miss Covers would point me in the right direction. She'd recommend students. Those students, she's brilliant. And not only does she know her stuff artistically, but she knows human beings. So she would give me the best every year. And inevitably, each one of those students said yes, they were willing to do it. So she guided me in the right direction. And then I'd meet up with that student and would develop a rapport about what I would like. Now, this was a real gift from Miss Covers. And I know you're thinking, what could Miss Covers possibly give the man who has everything? Well, she saw through the facade and she knew I didn't have any artistic integrity. So what I was able to do in this game was be the artistic director. And I would take these wonderful art majors from grade 10, and I would have a vision for the following year, and I would give them some outlines and instructions, and they would go forward, and over the summer they would design an interesting poster. Often there was some communication back and forth, whether it was through email or on Google Meet, but I ended up with fantastic material. And I know sometimes people would question why there was such a science fiction focus on this. And I have to say, I used a video called The Art of Sci-Fi Book Covers by Nerdwriter, one of the best video essays I've ever seen. And it explains that through science fiction book covers, messages that perhaps weren't easy to explore, you could explore them there, forbidden fruit even. So every year I would show the kids some posters, some traditional posters, and some pretty mind-numbingly stupid propaganda ones. And I would say, I don't want some student voice, student choice cliche. I want a message that's got some bite to it. And I don't mind if it's a little dark. I don't mind if it's attractive, if it was provocative, all the better. So I'm going to rewind the tape and go back to the first example of this going backwards. And that was Michel Dionne's 2024 poster that involved the tech overlord compliance officer threatening the young student in front of sort of a dystopian Earl Haig. Now, Michel was the first student who I hadn't taught over my dozen or so years doing this. But that was because the TDSB had murdered the grade 11 enriched program in all subjects. In any case, I knew her a little bit because she had won the 2023 Poetry and Voice contest, and I had taught and coached as a valedictorian her older sister, Chevin. And I remember at the time, Michelle would tag along as Chevin practiced her valedictorian speech in Cringan Hall. And I remember thinking, oh, poor Michelle, she's never going to be able to live up to her older sister's status. Little did I know that she certainly would. In any case, she did a great job, and she went on to be school president. So maybe there's a relationship. The year before, the inspiration, again, science fiction based, was on a poster in my room that Elaine Wang had made for her Marshall McLuhan project. And she had juxtaposed a human face with a sort of techno-cyborg face. So in this version, I asked Pearl to make a healthy girl on one side, and behind her would be a window, some pencils, paper, everything based on reflected light. Books such as Oryx and Crake, Americana, 3 Day Road, The Chrysalids, Hamlet, Twelfth Night. books that she would study off reflected light. And on the other side, juxtaposed to it, would be the cyborg version of her with the social media, TikTok, Instagram, Google, whatever, Twitter, now X. And that was meant to be the dehumanizing effect of social media. It worked out so well, and her inserts were brilliant. The year before, the amazing Amelia Hoy, who's a great English student and a great artist, she designed, we were still, when she designed this in 2021, we were still in the throes of the pandemic. And so her version has 3 students who are helmeted in hazmat outfits, and they're looking at a book, perhaps even an atlas. They've got a bookmark, and the coronaviruses are floating around. And this again represents that separation of what students should be doing and what the overlords had forbidden them from doing. She did a fantastic job, brilliant student. The year before that, we had Zoe Wang. With hers, I wanted to go back to a sort of a mythological theme. And in Chinese culture, it was Year of the Metal Ox. So this was at the absolute height of the pandemic. And so we wanted to have a battle, a conflict. So we have the Minotaur here and the Metal Ox here, and the values are supposed to be clear. She was a student whose inserts were probably better than the cover. And I think she was the type of kid who worked best on her own. Great job, Zoe. This one in 2020 is by Nick Chow. And with Nick, because 2020 vision, we wanted the idea of Big Brother watching over us, but we were inverting it and making it a type of big sister. And I asked Nick to make these beautiful eyes, beautiful young eyes watching over the young man who is in front of Earl Haig. And he did a fantastic job. Now, he made this in 2019 before the pandemic hit, of course, and we had the posters up. And I remember Ms. Goldenberg, when I showed them to her in September of or maybe it was even late August of 2019, she said, "I hope that's not a Claude Watson student. I hope you're not getting all the Claude Watson students to do this." And I had a horrible answer, but the truth is, yes, there are always Claude Watson students who have done this, and they've done a great job. So big shout out to the Claude Watson art majors. This one has a bit of a heartache here, a little bit of woe, less whimsy, more woe, but a powerful piece. This was the year after the van attack, where that incel fellow decided to kill as many women as he possibly could in his van. I think he ended up killing 12 people. What a nightmare, right in our neighborhood with some of our students on the street and even a new staff member who was a victim of this. In any case, we wanted to capture the neighborhood and the idea of rescue, sorrow with a sci-fi theme. So another nice fusion piece. Now, Erica Wen, Sammy Shen, and Joyce Chen designed this as a trio. And gorgeous work. They had a logo on it that we put in the showcase that I wish I kept. I wish I digitized and kept, but it was so clever, so good. But a powerful, emotional cover here. Now, the year before that, in 2018, Kendra Lee, who was a great student, I was lucky enough to teach in 10, 11, and 12. With her, this was a bit pre-sci-fi. I gave her an image of a Toronto International Film Festival poster where a young woman, I think, was holding the anthology for the film festival. But here I asked her to paint the Pierre Berton anthology from 2018, and we put her in the Wavy Hall. Now, this is one that's painted by hand on canvas, the real thing, old school. And Brittany Na digitized it, our school president at the time, and made it available in this format. The year prior to that, a beautiful singer, wonderful student, Hannah Douglas, I don't have the paper version, I'll give you the digital version on screen. She made a sort of a Medusa mythological creature who's got pencils and pens in her tendrils, and she's creating the frustration and the hard work that's involved in writing. And you can see the paper thrown around all over the place. So many teachers loved that poster. That was a big hit. She was a wonderful student and a brilliant artist. Now, if we go back the year before that, in 2016, this one is completely different. This one was made by Alice Nam and Vera Wang. Now, for this one, I didn't instruct them as much, and that's okay. They did an interesting job on their own. I asked them to capture, through metaphor, the idea of hard work and writing. And they came up with this brilliant digitized logo that is essentially a pencil acting as a lathe, curling up the page. I love this one because it pops out at you. You're not drawn into it. So very much like a logo, you can see it from afar. So that was their own creative work, and it was wonderful. The year before that, Emily Fu had one. She had her promotional poster was a digital hand writing on top of Justin Chandler's winning piece from the year prior. And then for her anthology, she made tile work of it with pencils in it, and wonderful work. The year before that, Lori Lamb created she drew a pencil, a paintbrush, a feathered pen, and each one was digitized and repeated, and one was colored in red to represent luck. She was a student I taught in grade 9 who was fantastic, really smart. The year before that, Carmen Lamb, I had nothing to do with this. This was Miss Lenchak's work. But Carmen Lamb, through her own initiative, came up with a Vicky Gabbro quotation, and she colorized the letters of Pierre Berton's name in it. And it smacked of originality. And then for the anthology, she sketched on pencil paper Pierre Berton's eyes, and 4 or 5 different versions of his eyes throughout his older years. And that one was completely original and completely smart. So each one of those students I was able to develop an interesting relationship with, and I thank them all. And I thank Ms. Sci-Fi for connecting me with them and making sure that every year we had a great process. And by the way, during the ceremonies, the winning students and the finalists would be presented with an anthology. And because the artwork was so extraordinary, it was a terrific gift. Thank you. Thank you.